All right, welcome to the Daily Fantasy Flex podcast. It is the NBA edition. It is Wednesday, January 18th. We were off Monday because of the spread out slate that was on MLK Day. So we decided to do the pod today instead because we have a nice 9-gamer starting at the regular 7 p.m. time. So we're going to run through these. We'll do our usual structure where we'll talk injuries. We'll hit on a couple intriguing games. There are two in particular that stand out from a Vegas total perspective, and then we'll run through positions as usual. As usual, I'm joined by my co-host Justin Phan and Jay Persson. Jay, how are you doing, man?
Doing good. I'm really happy we just wasted 30 minutes talking about Gorgie Jang and his value in the NBA off air for a bit. Excited to get into this slate though. It's a good day. We have Giannis is finally small forward eligible on DraftKings, just what we've all wanted, and then we're going to have round 2 of Ron Baker in the starting lineup. So hashtag NBA vote Ron Baker.
Hashtag Ron Burgundy, I think is what you mean.
Yeah, that's true. That's his name now.
Justin, what's going on?
Excited for this. Excited for round 2 of Dubs Thunder. Should be good. I hope it's not as lopsided as it was the first time around. Hopefully we get more than the 3 minutes out of Venus Cancer this time. Would be pretty nice. And some more fireworks. Jeremy Grant threw down pretty hard on Kevin Durant the last time, and looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Jay, I have a question for you. I think I asked you this, but I just wanted to get.
Is it about Gorgie?
No, it's not. It's not about Gorgie.
Right.
If you're guaranteed minutes and you could choose between Enes Kanter, Joel Embiid, or Nikola Jokic at the same price point, how would you rank those players?
Wow, like 40 minutes from any of them?
Guaranteed 40 minutes against the Nets.
I mean, I really want to say Cantor, but I got to go with my boy Jokic.
Yeah, but I was actually
– really Embiid would be the best.
I thought about tweeting this out, but then I thought people would just make fun of me for – because, like, Cantor I think is, like, legit close to those as far as just an efficiency, dominant fantasy point guy.
I mean, we have the points per minute for all three of those guys.
Embiid is the king.
Extrapolate. Yeah, Embiid,
he's
like 1.6?
Yeah, 1.5 or something. He's, like, top – like 8 or something in DK points per minute.
Yeah, that's an awesome hypothetical question though. Next year we'll get Embiid. He's not going up this year.
No, he won't. Which is fine. He's still young. A lot of potential all-star MVPs in his career. Let's move right into injuries. There's been quite a few notable ones already this morning. Recording this. Early morning for Wednesday. But Jay, I'll let you run through these and then we'll hit on our games.
All right, cool. Yeah, we had quite a bit of movement this morning, but I'll start with the Raptors guys. Patrick Patterson, sore left knee, still day-to-day, but no real update for him. We'll consider him doubtful tonight. Lucas Nogueira left last night's game early with blurred vision in his left eye. We'll consider him questionable, but I guess they'd be a bit more cautious with him. TJ McConnell, who was listed doubtful yesterday, is now questionable. He did go through shoot-around, which kind of ruins our Sergio shares. Nerlens Noel, probable. He went through shoot-around today too. Joel Embiid, speaking of, is questionable. He did not go through shoot-around with an illness, so that's obviously a big one to monitor. Joel Okafor is available to play. Moving on, we got Ed Davis out again with the ankle injury. Jeremy Lamb, once again, out with the foot injury. Porzingis ruled out the Achilles. Joakim Noah is questionable with an ankle injury. Did not go through shoot-around. One beat reporter said he's unlikely to – he thinks he's unlikely to play. So that's another kind of big one on this slate to monitor. Then we got Fournier and Biyombo, both questionable for tonight. Anthony Davis said he'll play after getting just dominated by Miles Turner last game and leaving early in the third quarter. Ryan Anderson, questionable with an illness. He missed last game. Eric Gordon, no official status, but we'll see how he does. He left last night's game briefly with the right ankle injury. And then Mike Muscala is out. Dwight fully expected to play after resting last game. John Lure is a game-time decision. Van Gundy said he'll start if he plays. KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope ruled out again, and Reggie Bullock is starting for him. Andre Drummond will play after being listed probable. Steven Adams, another big one, ruled out once again with concussion. And then Ty Lawson, questionable, and Caspi out 1 to 2 weeks.
Awesome. So just every player, really?
Yeah, like 100 players in the pool tonight, and they're all
questionable.
Yeah, no question. Yeah,
All
that's
right,
a lot.
let's move on to our game breakdowns. We'll touch on these quickly. Quite a few high total games. If you're just looking, for intriguing games here, there's 4 games that are above 216 total right now, which that's pretty high relative to another slate. The 2 ones that we're going to discuss are going to be the Thunder at the Warriors, and then we'll also talk about the Bucks at the Rockets. Those are the 2 highest total games. Let's start with Warriors and Thunder. This is the highest one of the night. It is at 228.5. The Warriors are pretty significantly heavy favorites. They're at 13 right now. It opened at 12.5. It's already moved to 13. So interestingly, the total was moved up 1.5, even though the under has been bet quite a bit. So some reverse line movement there. But Justin, I'll start with you because I know you have an interesting statistic on Westbrook and just the Vegas numbers on this game.
Yeah, I kind of ran it through a couple of times to make sure, but Russ has only been a double-digit underdog twice in the last 3 seasons. And once was earlier this season against the Warriors, and once was really early on in the I think it was the 14-15 season
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Against the Clippers, I believe. And that game, he fractured his hand like 9 minutes in or in the first quarter. So we've got a 2-game sample here. One game where he's a double-digit dog, and one game he fractured his hand. The other he put up 48 DK points in a blowout. So not exactly the best track record here. I think we kind of approach Russ here as probably more of a tournament play. I think there are a lot of strong cash game options on this slate. You look up top at DeMarcus Cousins, who I like a lot. You got Giannis, you got Steph, you got Kevin Durant. Just a lot of solid options in games that project to be pretty close here. So you obviously got James Harden as well. So Russ, I kind of approach as a tournament only option, and I don't think I'm going to have too heavy exposure to the Thunder and cash. Oladipo is kind of thin to me as well. I think the interesting guy here obviously is Cantor. They brought him off the bench last game against the Clippers. Just got absolutely destroyed early on when DJ was just feasting on Jeremy Grant predictably. We'll see what they end up doing here. I could see them starting Jeremy Grant again, or maybe Joff Laverne or something. So what do you guys think about Cantor here? Obviously been a permanent beast. I kind of like him if he comes off the bench a little bit more. Maybe he gets some garbage time blowout, stat padding, I mean. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's possible. 6,300 on FanDuel. It's really tough. I'm with you on kind of fading the Thunder and cash games, even though ideally I would like to go Cantor and cash, but it's just too tough. I mean, every time we see guys play the Warriors, it's not even a game anymore. They're too good. They're just the best team of all time, and it's kind of tough going guys who against them. Warriors their defense has been on fire lately. Number 1 on the season now in defensive rating overall. So it's really tough going guys against them, especially a guy like Russ, really expensive if you might only play 3 quarters. But I'm with you on Cantor. He's most intriguing. I just don't know if he can handle it after KD kind of owned him post-game after the last one.
I think he's got a little something to prove, don't you think?
Can he, though? That's the thing.
I know.
It's Cantor.
So, I mean, what do you guys think about these 2 cheap guys? I mean, Laverne and Jeremy Grant. Grant got the start last time. I mean, they're so cheap on DK. I mean, Laverne is 3.2.
Cheap on FanDuel, too.
Yeah. I mean, both Jeremy Grant is a little bit cheaper on FanDuel. But, yeah, he's 36 on FanDuel. And he played 30 minutes in the start last game. I mean, it's obviously a really bad matchup at 36. It's hard to not hit value if he's going to get 30 minutes here.
I think we have other cheap guys that I'd look to before the Nets or the Knicks front court situation. I'm looking to kind of get value out of that a little bit. We have a couple of cheap centers too if you don't want to go Boogie. So I don't know. I get what you're saying. These guys are cheap and they're going to be playing enough minutes, but it's still risky, and I don't think this is the value you want to hit.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving to the Warriors side of things, if we just look at this last game, the guy who was the best value was Zaza, NBA vote. Zaza, he put up 37.5 Points was a plus 21.4 DK plus minus, but this was a blowout. Kevin Durant had a big game. He had 53.75 points against his former team. Obviously, you would think he would be motivated yet again, but other than that, some of these other guys didn't quite do as well. But the question is this team a little bit different? Steph has been hot lately, and it seems like they've been at least more proactive in getting him involved and getting him in some pick and roll action, either with KD or Draymond. So the question is, Justin, what are your thoughts on Steph? Is he just sort of, have they figured out a little bit better what to do with him?
Yeah, I think since Christmas, when he was talking about how he wanted to be more pick and roll sets, they've said about 5 more screens per game for him, since then. And he's really kind of been a lot more involved, in that offense, and obviously his numbers reflect that. Probably he's cash for sure for me, in the conversation at least. I don't think preliminarily I have him on my team, but he definitely deserves to be in the conversation. I kind of like Kyle Lowry a lot today at point guard. That's kind of my go-to, especially with the possibility. There's been some talk that they might rest DeRozan possibly in the second leg of a back-to-back, kind of alternate those two. So Lowry's kind of where I'm starting with again against Philly, but Steph is really elite as well. And you look at small forward, and Durant definitely needs to be in the conversation, especially on DK. It's pretty, it's not great there, and that's kind of a position where you can kind of pay up for him if you want, to kind of give you a floor at that spot. You have options like Carmelo Anthony there today without Porzingis. You can kind of look at some other guys too, but Durant needs to be in the mix as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're both cash viable. And then you look at these other guys. I mean, Clay has been pretty decent in large spread games, but he's not. I mean, he's just sort of an interesting player in that he really hasn't flashed the ceiling, but he also doesn't have an incredibly safe floor at his price in a small slate where you just feel really comfortable going in and cash in a large spread game. Draymond, gets up against LeBron, but he hasn't really shown that ceiling outside of this last game against the Cavs. So I think Steph and Durant and Jay, you going to go back to Zaza, who crushed it last game?
No, I'm not going Zaza. I agree. Yeah, these guys are cash plays if you can afford them, basically, on this slate. And I think Durant's the guy who stands out to me just because of that position. They're kind of a lot of point guards that I like a little bit less than Curry, so we'll kind of see how that ends up. But I think Durant significantly better than the rest of small forwards. But we do have a few options there as well. But we saw last game with that blowout when they just manhandled the Cavs. These 3 players, Dre, Durant, and Curry, still performed really well. So this is a team that's capable. These players are putting up a lot of points even when they do blow out a team, which could be the case tonight with the 13.5-point spread.
Yeah, I think they have like a 120 offensive rating since Christmas, which is obscene. They're just destroying. And the spread kind of lowers their ceiling a bit, but I still feel really confident about the floor because I even think that, like Jay said, if this game gets out of hand, it's because they're smashing and they're putting up just an obscene amount of points and production in that limited amount of time. Right. And if they do kind of sputter a little bit and it stays closer, then that's good too because they'll see more minutes. So I think either way, it's kind of these 2 are pretty safe for me.
That's fair.
I hope the game's close. I was so excited for the Cavs game, and that thing was over first quarter. It just sucks watching.
Yeah, that's such a brutal spot on the end of that West Coast road trip, and loving this.
All right.
No, I'm not trying to make excuses. I wasn't particularly expecting an amazing game.
That's fine. I just want more close games.
Yeah. Well, the Warriors unfortunately don't give us.
Too good.
When you have 4 of the best 15 players in the league, you're not going to get too many close games. But, all right, let's move on to this next game, which is the Bucks visiting the Rockets. Really intriguing game, obviously, with Giannis and Harden going at each other. Obviously, Jay mentioned before, Giannis is now small forward eligible on DraftKings, which makes him certainly intriguing. Very weird, and it's emblematic of the guy that Giannis is, that he doesn't have shooting guard eligibility. He has
I just skipped over.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
It's absurd. It's
Yeah,
funny.
they just need to have him just utility, just like any,
He's like the wild card in Uno.
It's the first time, for the record, like on the back end, we had to create a position because we have it on the back end, like templates, like point guard, shooting guard, small forward, so on and so forth. He's the only one that we've ever had to just custom make a position for. It's crazy.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, Giannis is a freak. But all right, let's jump into this game. So from a Vegas perspective, second highest total on the slate, 224.5. This game actually has come down quite a bit. It opened at 227 and sort of opposite the Warriors Thunder scene, reverse line movement towards the over. This game has been bet significantly on the over, but the total has moved down 2.5 points. So it's something to monitor for sure, that there could be less points than expected in the first place. Rockets are 6.5 point favorites. So let's dive right in. So I guess the question is Giannis versus Harden. Jay, do you have a take there?
It's definitely the question when you look at this game, and I definitely want a piece of this game. Absolutely want to go one of the two. This game should be really juicy. Bucks defense has just been horrendous lately. 29th in the last 10 games defense rating. I think Giannis on FanDuel, 1,200 less than Harden. It's kind of tough for me to go Harden over that, but Harden on the second leg of back-to-back has proven this season at least that he can still contribute a lot, even after playing big minutes the night before. So you can obviously make a case for both. Houston at home, higher team total, but I like the price point for Giannis, and then you look at DK where Giannis is small forward eligible too.
Yeah, I'd probably lean Giannis as well. I really want to attack this Rockets team in the second leg of a back-to-back. They're really banged up, and they're just not in a good spot right now. Eric Gordon tweaked his ankle. Capella's limited. We got Ryan Anderson still dealing with that illness. They're really thin. Mike D'Antoni said as much after last night's game. So I think it'll be real struggle for them, real grind for them to get really through this game. I think we can see some sloppier defense than usual. These Bucks guys are kind of primed to take advantage of that, coming off, some days off here.
And from a matchups perspective, Giannis definitely has an easier one. You would anticipate that Giannis is probably going to be guarded by Ariza, who we've talked about before, has a defensive reputation, but in his back part of his career, he is not a good defender. So Giannis definitely is a mismatch against everyone, but particularly a good spot here. And then Harden will probably be guarded by Giannis, who has been an elite wing defender here. So if you're just looking at the one-on-one matchups, Giannis, I think, gets the nod as well. So let's move on to, I think, the other interesting guy for Milwaukee, who I think is in a really good spot just because, if Ariza is going to be on Giannis, that would probably put I don't know. I mean, Ryan Anderson, who's questionable. I'm not even sure who would potentially guard Jabari. I mean, that seems like quite a mismatch. So from the GPP perspective, he seems really intriguing. Jay, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, his price is climbing on FanDuel. I don't think he was kind of at that level before where we were cashing him on a regular basis. Now it's kind of gotten up there to where it's a tougher decision. On DK, I think it's still fine. Yeah, I like him quite a bit in this spot. If they're shorthanded, Capella's playing limited minutes too. Jabari can eat down low, so I still like the spot for him. I don't know if I'm going to cash him, but I definitely like him as a strong tournament play.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on him? And then, Brogdon, are we still – I mean, he sort of profiles more as a GPP play, I think, but the matchup against Beverly obviously is probably rules him out there. So is it just Giannis and Jabari for you on the side, or are you okay with some, I don't know, Monroe a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah, Monroe's been losing a little bit of minutes recently to John Henson. Henson's been playing a little bit more the last two games, so I'm kind of off Monroe for now. I do think that news will kind of influence where I rank Harden. I can end up with Harden above Giannis if, say, Ryan Anderson and Eric Gordon are both out today, which is a distinct possibility. We run an on-off query already with Ryan Anderson off the court this season. Harden sees a 3.3% bump in usage. You take Gordon out of the equation too, then it goes up further. So if those two are out / limited, then Harden's going to have pretty enormous workload, on his shoulders, and just by usage alone, I think he needs to be, seriously in the mix as well. There's so many good cash game plays on this slate, though. It's just like trying to figure out who the stud that you want is, because we haven't got a DeMarcus Cousins against Indiana, which I absolutely love that spot too. So definitely about roster construction, kind of positional scarcity here. Jay mentioned Giannis at small forward on FanDuel, which I like a lot too, which kind of maybe gives him the edge.
What was Beverly in that query?
Beverly was a plus 2.6% usage.
Okay. Yeah, because he could potentially be nice too if they're that shorthanded kind of on usage.
Yeah.
On FanDuel, I think he's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're cashing him though today.
No, probably not.
Yeah, he's pretty underwhelming lately. Not to be too tied up in recency bias, but just not a guy at a position that's absolutely loaded on a night-to-night basis. You need to go.
Yeah, it is especially loaded tonight.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. If you're just looking at your other options, in a vacuum, I think he's fine. But then you look at who else you might roster and not what you can. Anything else from this game? I mean, obviously the Giannis Harden one is sort of the thing that we wanted to discuss.
I think Reese is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you think Giannis is going to take Harden. You would think maybe Snell would move up to Ariza, but Ariza's sort of, he goes with Harden. So if you expect Harden to have a good game, then Ariza at a cheap price is not a bad guy just to stack him with, I think.
Yeah, I think Ariza's only on my radar if Rhino misses, because that's the only way he'll get close to 38 to 40 minutes potentially. He's been pretty underwhelming on a permanent basis this season. I think 0.81 DK points per minute. It's been a little bit lower recently, I believe. So I think another thing to keep an eye on this game is the status of Capella and Nene on a back-to-back. Capella only played 8 to 9 minutes yesterday in his return. So we should be able to give it a go. And Nene has been playing back-to-backs, but we'll kind of see how they handle those two. So if one or two, or both those guys out, obviously give a nice little boost to Montrezl Harrell, who's been very, very solid in extended minutes. So that's kind of the extent of what I'm looking at.
Jay, would you use any of these guys other than Harden without Harden? Because if you just think of it from a game theory perspective,
probably not.
Yeah,
that just says how safe and big upside Harden is, though, more than maybe the correlation. But I do want a piece of this team, though. The Bucks defense has just been worse lately, and they don't defend threes at all. Their defensive scheme just allows opponents to shoot threes, and we know, Rockets shoot 40 threes a game. That's 7 more than the next closest team. So they're going to be bombing. And if you have Rhino out and Gordon potentially, you're looking at who's going to shoot these threes, and it's going to be Ariza should step up a bit. Ariza's really frustrating because you get last game, he was kind of a nice play. People were on him with Rhino out. He busted relative to how he should be. And he kind of has been like that the whole season and even last season too. So it's hard to cash, but I mean, this is a good spot if those guys are out, but I don't know. It's tough. I do want a piece of this team.
I agree with Jay. It's just that the pieces that I want are either banged up or sick. I'd be all over Eric Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon too.
Gordon for sure. Yeah,
Eric Gordon's been extremely solid with that floor, but I'm not messing with that ankle. We saw him struggle mightily from the field last game because of it, and this is secondly of a back-to-back. I don't expect it to get dramatically better. Within 24 hours. I'm off Gordon, and Ryan Anderson with an illness, he might be limited a little bit with his minutes. I won't see 34, 35.
So it makes Harden just a stronger play.
Harden's real strong.
With all these guys around him being sick and injured and limited, coming back.
In a really good spot.
It's tough to Harden's in a really good spot.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And these other guys that would potentially move into more minutes without Gordon and Rhino. I mean, if you're just talking on the wing, it would be Decker and Corey Brewer, but they just split minutes, which is just, kind of hurts their value. Decker would be interesting if he was going to get 30 minutes. But,
yeah, Decker's the tournament flyer.
At a really low, at like min price, if he like somehow gets up to 30 minutes, gets high. I mean, he's a good player, I think, but he just splitting minutes with Brewers.
I think people saw last game, some sharp people were on him, expecting him to do a lot more, and Brewer drew the start, and Decker didn't really come through too much. But yeah, I agree. You can only
play like 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah, only a tournament play.
Yeah, no Decker in cash. All right, well, let's move on to our positional breakdowns. We will start with point guard as usual, and then move all the way through center and keep this thing rolling. So, Justin, I will start with you. For point guard, I think we've talked about the really expensive guys at the top being Westbrook and Steph. Then you have another guy up there is Isaiah, and sort of the next high total gain, but his price is just so far up there. So I'm curious, and then you get down to, I think, potentially guys that are interesting, like Lowry against Philly, especially with McConnell out and Sergio, or McConnell potentially out. But where are you sort of outside of the high price studs in Westbrook and Steph?
Yeah, I'm eyeing one guy. I'm playing Lowry no matter what. He rested Tuesday to play this game against Philly. He's from Philly. You look at Kyle Lowry on 2 days of rest the last two seasons, 45 DK points in 25 games, plus minus of 7, 76% consistency. We mentioned DeMar DeRozan maybe could be rested or a little bit limited after taking on such a big workload yesterday. Lowry is kind of the guy I'm eyeing here to kind of start my rosters with that point guard.
So DK, if you could only go one, would you prefer the 500 savings from Lowry to Steph?
I don't know. I think that's close. I probably go Lowry just because I think it's I think he'll see significantly more minutes. And I think I can use those savings today to maybe pay up and get another stud of the many that are on the slate. So.
That's tough. I mean, Oklahoma City without Adams, not a good defense. So, and you could argue that Philly. I guess it depends on Embiid's status. But
they've been really good with Embiid and McConnell.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're actually low-key, like almost top 10 defense.
Yeah, and
they are. Yeah.
I haven't looked at them.
So like you mentioned OKC without Adams, their defensive rating this season without him on the floor is 109.1, which would make them among the worst defenses in the league. And they get 10.1 points worse per 100 possessions without Steven Adams on the floor. Mm-hmm. That's huge. Yeah. So that's kind of a 6-point spread versus what the 13.5 point spread of that other game. So that's kind of what gives Lowry the edge for me. I think Lowry is going to have a big game. He's been phenomenal shooting this entire season. So I think he's close to 50, 40, 90, if I'm not mistaken.
Jay, get in here, Lowry stuff.
I'm not as high on Lowry. I like Philly's defense quite a bit with him and Embiid. They've been really solid lately. But you kind of look at pricing and everything. I don't know. I like different guys. I like Kemba a lot in tournaments. Back at home, they've played 5 straight road games. So it's kind of a guy looking at this slate who's really going to fall under the radar, a guy who I want in tournaments. We have, Conley, I think, is a good tournament play as well. Just really playing well lately. Good opponent plus minus, 6th most favorable. Against Washington, we got John Wall, 12 straight home wins in a row. Tougher matchup, but a 104 team total. And I think Beal can be shut down a little, which can up Wall's production here. So you have other guys to pivot to. So I think, you're probably looking at kind of Steph or Lowry as your kind of cash play. It was Sergio with McConnell doubtful, but now that McConnell looks like he's going to suit up, we're kind of out of value at this spot, which makes it tough at some of the other positions, especially if you want to go Boogie. And Durant, for example. So it's kind of tough. But yeah, I agree. I think Lowry is really nice. I don't know if DeRozan will sit. I'm not sure. He hasn't sat all year, so it's kind of tough. But obviously, if he's out, then it's no brainer. You go Lowry, but even if he plays, you still have Covington will be on DeRozan, so Lowry should be really solid.
Well, why are we giving no love to Dame as like an elite play at the top here? I mean, he's had essentially 3 days rest because he played so early on MLK. Played like that noon game on the East Coast. Obviously, Portland sucks, so he played abbreviated minutes. So, really hasn't played full minutes in like a tough game in 5 days. Going against a really nice matchup against Kemba and the Hornets. They've not been good against point guards, and Dame really hasn't gone off lately. You would think he would be motivated to have a good game here on this East Coast trip. So, if we're just looking at guys, like I think he deserves to be right up there with some of these other studs. Like I would prefer him over, definitely over Wall, but I think I prefer him over Isaiah. I think I prefer him over Kemba.
I prefer Kemba over Dame with price, ownership, and
so you think Dame's going to be up there?
No, but I think Kemba won't be up there either. So
yeah, that's fair.
I'd rather. I like Kemba more.
I like Kemba quite a bit. Obviously, I think this might be a nice matchup to roll both. And hopefully.
Yeah, they should definitely fall under the radar. Another guy we got to talk about is Elfrid Payton, who's just been kind of crushing. 52 shots in his last 3 games. He's being really aggressive lately, so he's highly intriguing to me. It's really a lot of tournament guys. So think about the Pelicans. They have the best defensive rating in the last 10 games in the league, but they're still giving up a lot to the point guard position, surprisingly. So I still like Elf quite a bit.
Justin, what are your thoughts on these guys? I'm curious your thoughts on Dame in particular, or the Dame-Kemba matchup. We can hit on that.
I probably lean a little bit towards Kemba. The Dame has a good history against Charlotte / the history of that franchise.
Sorry ass franchise.
I think he's scored at least 22 points I think he scored at least 22 points in every game he's played against that franchise in his career. So he has a good track record of success against them. But obviously with Dame, he always scores, period. He's just the peripherals that are kind of lacking. Yep. When you're looking at those guys and you throw in a guy like Elfrid Payton or Mike Conley, Conley and Elfrid Payton, I prefer pretty easily over both those guys. I think they've been a lot more consistent, and I don't have too much worry, especially with Conley, about the volatility from game to game. And Dame's on the road too, which I don't love. So those are kind of the guys I'm looking at: Conley and Elfrid Payton at point guard.
Oh, I wouldn't. Are you talking about tournaments? I wouldn't touch Payton cash.
Yeah, obviously in tournaments. Yeah.
Who do you go with cash then? On FanDuel, for example, it was Sergio. You go Sergio at 4,100, and then pay up for whoever, really, Lowry, Steph. But now you don't really have that cheap guy to fall back on. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to go Steph and Lowry, for example, or some of these guys. So Elf's price at 64 is pretty light there.
Obviously, if you had to get down, I much prefer Conley. Obviously,
that's fair.
If I could get up to him, I'd much
try to get up to Conley.
He's not ridiculous. He's like 7.5,
7.8. Yeah, it's tough there, and we'll get into shooting guard next, but there's not a lot of value there either, really. So it's kind of going to come down to the front court. Unfortunately, we have Boogie there. We really want to go, so it's going to be tough to get. If you're paying up at point guard, we're not even getting into Giannis and or Harden, so it's kind of like unrealistic to go all 4 of these guys.
If only you could, if there's no salary cap. What are your thoughts on the New York situation, Jay?
I'm not too high on Rose. For this one, I'm high on other guys that we'll get into.
Rose has an elite opponent plus minus against Boston. They've been so bad against point guards lately.
So he's the same price as Elf. I don't know. That's tough for me.
Elf clearly has the higher upside, just the versatility.
Massive, yeah.
Rose. I can
be lower for sure.
I can really project Elf to have a ceiling of 35 to 40 FanDuel points. Like I think that's pretty hard for Rose to do, given he just doesn't do much peripheral.
Yeah, but if you had to cash one, I don't know. That's a little closer, I guess.
If you have to cash one, then you're asking the wrong question.
Well, you got to save money somewhere. You're not just going to go Lowry, Steph, Giannis, Harden, Boogie, KD. Like, you got to save. Pick your spots.
I'd go Beverly.
You go Bev?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get into these. Let's get into these other positions, and we can kind of see where, if we can save.
Yeah. I just like Elf. He scored 10 points the other night. I mean, his floor is so low.
Yeah. I'll say.
That was against the Clips, though.
Yeah.
I mean, but he only put up 20 against the Lakers, right?
He put up 57 against the Jazz. He's crazy, man.
And then the Jazz let like 1 million points to Eric Bledsoe too. I mean, the Jazz sneaky bad against point guards last couple of games. All right, let's move on to shooting guard. Obviously, we put on Giannis and Harden at the top end. They are significantly the most expensive guys. But then you have just sort of going down in price. I think you have a lot of interesting guys, especially in this upper mid-tier range. You have Batum, McCollum, and Bradley Beal will probably be very low owned against Memphis. But the question, who's going to guard who? You would assume Tony Allen probably be on Beal, and Conley would take Wall. But that's at least interesting. Then you have some of these Boston guys. But Justin, I'll start with you. If we're sort of getting down from Harden and Giannis because we can't pay up, we want to pay up for shooting guard. I mean, what are your thoughts on this mid-tier range here?
Yeah, it's not great. I don't. That's kind of why I see myself paying up for either Giannis or Harden, especially on FanDuel. You kind of look at the rest of this crop, and Batum, is pretty nice. He has an elevated floor with Jeremy Lamb still sidelined, so he should be able to see 35 to 37 minutes. I like him. I'm not on DeRozan too much.
I like McCollum quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
like on DK at 7.
I like Batum and McCollum too, but you're gonna have to say I'm going one of Harden and Giannis, so it's like I'm not going Batum as well. It's just unrealistic.
DK, you can't take Giannis as a shooting guard.
Yeah.
I think you can look at Tony Allen as a punt, 4,700 on FanDuel. He should see more minutes in this one, guarding Bradley Beal. He's obviously volatile too, but you have to save somewhere. I'm not too interested in Tim Hardaway Jr. Against Detroit, though their perimeter defense definitely takes a hit without KCP. So that's more of a tournament play. I mean, you kind of look at these cheaper guys. It's tough to really go too crazy.
Yeah, it was. I was intrigued by Tyreek if we got word Anthony Davis was missed, but now that's not happening. Nothing's really breaking our way with the injury news. We don't have McConnell out.
What about Bays? What about Bazemore?
Yeah, Bays is interesting for sure. I don't mind him too much. Like Justin mentioned, Detroit's D slipped quite a bit with KCP out. He's their best probably overall.
Yeah, I mean that's the play. Like I think I would.
Yeah,
Bazemore.
On DK 4,400. I don't think it's bad, and especially if you're trying to save. But I'm really trying to go one of Harden or Giannis for sure. And then
what do you guys think ownership's going to be like on Ron Burgundy?
He was only like 10%. I don't remember actually on DK. I think
that came kind of late.
And then after it came late, and then after playing well, putting up over a point.
And that was
and supposed to get this. Yeah, I'm supposed to.
I'm not on that.
I think it's probably a trap here, but at 3-4 on DK, I think it's going to be fairly popular.
So do you think Bradley's going to guard? Bradley's going to cross match then, and Isaiah's going to be on Burgundy?
I would think so, yeah.
I would think you would much rather have Isaiah on Burgundy than Rose.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Isaiah gets a lot of slack for being a poor defender, but he can keep up with a lot of guys.
He tries hard. He works.
Yeah,
It's not on him, but it's just size.
He's just short. Yeah.
It depends who he's going against. Yeah.
His problem isn't quickness by any means. I mean, he's a quick dude. It's just people can shoot over him. But Burgundy just shoot him.
Burgundy.
I agree it's a trap, and potentially, but I do think that he's going to be popular.
I don't know if he'll be popular.
He's 3-4 on a slate where you have a lot of studs.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm looking at the other Knicks guys more, and especially if Noah's ruled out, which it kind of appears that that's the way it's headed. So I don't know, we'll get into Kuzminskis, small forward, but there are other guys. I think you should be able to manage going elsewhere with your value plays, but I don't know. I'd rather not go Burgundy.
No, I hear you. But I mean, if you really just have to scrape the bargain bin, I'm not saying to go him. I'm just saying that people are going to go him. Like you will play him in head-to-heads for sure if you play him. I definitely prefer getting up to especially base.
If that's the case, you need to start posting, Jason.
I guarantee you he's going to be popular in cash at 3-4. I'm with Bryan. Just with other people will do with what other people will do. I'm just not on it myself.
Yeah, that's fine. I do think you're definitely gonna have to go someone in that price range on DK though.
Dude, I don't know. I can talk myself into it. I've played a lot worse punts. I think Baker's fine. If you want to go that route, I don't think it's bad. You look at what it'll get you potentially with other people.
Yeah.
Then I can see it from that perspective.
It's not an off, like he's not going to explode, but like
right. Especially when you look at some of the other alternatives on the lower end, I'm not really feeling a lot of these guys.
He needs 14 DK points to hit value.
He'll do that. What in the first possession? How many shots? He took 3 shots in the first minute. Yeah. That's awesome. That's what I want to see. I don't know. I mean, we'll keep going, and maybe he'll be a bit more important when we get to the other positions, but it's tough. There's not a lot of value at shooting guard that I like. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's tough because then when you look at other guys that are, at least intriguing from a minute standpoint, like Glenn Robinson, GR3, is going to play. He's been playing well, but not like from a fantasy perspective. So
I will say I do like Batum quite a bit here, especially as kind of a turning pivot if guys are either spending up or going Burgundy or whatever. Batum kind of stands out as in between those guys with pretty big upside. Again, just like Kemba at home after a 5-game road trip.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to small forward here. And when you're talking about other Knicks guys, you're talking about Kuzminskis, right? Right, Jay? Is that who you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Played 37 minutes last game, only 3,900. I think we'll see him be the chalk with the Knicks going smaller. They said if when Porzingis returns, we'll start at center. I think the starters' jerseys from this morning had both Porzingis and O'Quinn. So we could see a lineup with Rose, Burgundy, Kuzminskis, Melo, and Kyle O'Quinn in the starting lineup. So that's something that we could see tonight.
Pours had a blue jersey on. It was Rose, Baker, Kuzminskis, O'Quinn, Melo. With the starting.
That's what I think will be the starting lineup.
Nice. So the case for Kuz for sure is the minutes. I mean, if you're comparing him to Burgundy, I don't think it's that close because the floor should be substantially higher because you got Kuz who played 38 minutes last game.
Yeah,
you can probably pretty easily project him for at least 28. If very conservatively, if not more. I think Burgundy is probably going to play 22 last game. I think that's fair projection for this game too because they have Courtney Lee there. They have Jennings and dual point guard looks. They have Justin Holiday too. So Kuzminskis for sure at small forward is a guy I'm kind of I'm not going to say lock in, but I'm probably going to play him just for the savings to pay up for some of these stuff.
Yeah, FanDuel 39. I mean, it's not, I mean, if he's going to get 30, 32, 35 minutes, I mean, that's really tough. Jay, I mean, you can just roster both. You can just go Burgundy, Kuz.
I don't want to go Burgundy, man.
You don't want to stack the Knicks. The Knicks are so
I do want Kuz, though. I'm totally fine going Kuz. FanDuel.
Picks on the road against Boston. Oh,
just all 5 starters. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get into his other small forward, Melo. I like Melo a lot too, with Porzingis out and him playing a lot more at the 4. The Knicks going small, Boston can go small too. So I like Melo a decent amount. I know Boston's got guys to throw at him with Crowder, Smart, even Jaylen Brown. So they'll mix it up a lot, but I think Melo, if you don't go Durant, can't really fit him. I think Melo's a fine option, kind of anchor small forward ahead of Kuz.
I probably lean towards punting small forward if I don't go Durant. I'm just really worried about the blowout here potentially with 9.5 point dogs. They've shown that if they get down early, they're just going to give up. That scares me with Melo. Minutes. I worry that he'll probably see close to 30 potentially if this one gets out of hand. So. Definitely a spot where you can save. I think there's some other options here with Damari Carroll. You click at MKG.
What about Jay? What about Jay Crowder on the other side?
He's not bad. Really good. He's definitely solid. Especially with the Knicks playing small, we'll see guaranteed minutes for Crowder like usual. But there's a
lot of guys in that 5 range. I mean, even rolling back to Ariza. I mean, if you look at that 5-ish range.
I'm even fine potentially with Marcus Morris is cheap if Lure's ruled out of this one with KCP already out. Inconsistent, but a good price.
Great GDP play.
Yeah, so a really good price, and he's cheaper than some of these other guys, Ariza and Crowder. So. Yeah, I agree. Maybe the way a small forward is if you don't go Durant, you just go cheap, and that allows you to spend up at point guard and shooting guard.
It's like I like the idea of Melo. I like the idea of like Rudy Gay, who I think is also a really good tournament option to get a piece of this game against the Pacers at home. I don't think it's worth rostering those guys if it'll cost me another stud, potentially. So. What I'm leaning right now is probably on FanDuel punting small forward.
Yeah, because you could easily go like Kuz and Jay Crowder and like have a very nice floor there at a like incredibly cheap price.
Yeah, or you can go like you don't have to even play if you don't want to go up to like Damari Carroll for 300 more. That's fine too over Kuz. But Damari is definitely going to do more.
Or slightly up to MKG, I think is fine against Portland.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kind of punt options, which is why I'm leaning that way at small forward on FanDuel.
And then Aaron Gordon, what are your thoughts here? I'm just hitting on other guys. I know you're probably go Robertson and Cash, Jay, but
I'm surprised you haven't brought him up yet. Robertson is an elite cash play.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon's it's like every other game he does well, so it's still exactly. He's on the right end of the every other game side. I don't know. Yeah, I don't mind tournament exposure. He's still really cheap. It's just really, really hard to cash him, but he's flashed the upside quite often. So I'm fine with a little exposure to him. Another guy I'll shout out real quick, just in case DeRozan rests, is Terrence Ross. Really solid play at, I believe, 3,700 on FanDuel. So that's potentially another spot, but there's not really a strong indication DeRozan will sit. So just keep it back your mind.
I like that call. I like the Marcus Morris call a lot as well.
Marmo's nice. What about Paul George? Any interest at all? Like, I know he's been very disappointing, but this is kind of a slate where there aren't too many options at small forward that have a kind of big ceiling, and he's a guy who I feel like –
Does he have a big ceiling is the question?
I think I'd rather go Rudy Gay at 200 less on FanDuel if we're talking tournaments.
I guess – I mean, I'm fine with Rudy Gay, really. Yeah, he's fine at his price.
He just hasn't flashed a ceiling lately. Like, I'm not trying to like be hot taking. Say Paul George isn't an amazing player, but like from a fantasy perspective, he just hasn't like had the peripheral stats and all that stuff to like really put up.
Does he need? He needs like 50 or?
No,
7,500.
Like at least get me 40, right?
He can get 40.
Yeah, I mean he can, but he just hasn't done it. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. That's why, like, do you want any tournament exposure to him?
I think it's fine. I just think if Rudy Gay was on the slate, I think
that's fair.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to power forward. Keep it rolling. So I mean, another high price guy that we haven't even mentioned here is Anthony Davis, who I think you said he said that he's going to play, but who knows?
Yeah, he's playing. He's the definition of tournament play today. When we have Harden, Giannis, all these guys.
So low.
This is where
DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, and he's expensive, Davis.
And he got injured last game.
Yep. So this is the ultimate
buy low.
Yeah, ultimate spot for Davis shares.
Yeah, which is intriguing. The question, and Jay, I'll go back to before we go to Justin here is, are you fine with, we talked Cantor in cash games, but sort of looking through the options here, it seems like that's even a little more intriguing at this point.
It's tough. I mean, we saw the last matchup. I know Adams obviously played, but this is just a not good spot for Cantor. He played 3 minutes. There's a reason he only played 3 minutes. He never did well really against them last year. In the playoffs, he was a non-factor, even off the bench. I know the starters played a lot. It's different dynamics, but just the spot is not good. So I'm not throwing him in cash. I would like to see him start in that. I would know he'd at least get minutes, but I can see the upside on the bench. Especially if this got into a blowout. But that kind of makes him more of a tournament play if that's the case. So I don't know. I think power forward's definitely interesting. You have Boogie on DK. I'd like to go. I think Olynyk on DK 4,500.
Yeah, I think DK is really easy. I mean, you have you Boogie and Olynyk, like you said, and I think Millsap is really good on DK as well.
Yeah, I like Millsap a lot in this spot too. More as tournament play, especially if we're trying to spend up elsewhere. I think Olynyk stands out quite a bit, especially the Knicks, if they're extremely thin in the front court. Olynyk could definitely play a decent amount of minutes in that one.
But FanDuel was really tough, trying to figure out exactly where you want to go on FanDuel. I mean,
let me ask this question here. Let's assume John Lure plays. I don't know if this is reaching too much here, but Cantor at 63 or Tobias Harris.
Oof. I mean, Tobias has been really nice. 6K.
I do like him better off the bench.
Exactly. He's safe.
So I'm saying, just assume John Lure plays and he starts. Like he has been next to Marcus Morris, right? Would you play Cantor at 63 or Tobias at 6?
Why not go both? That could be the spot.
That could be the spot. I respect that.
That's a very political answer, Jay Sean. I'm curious your opinion, because I think I'm struggling with that one too. I think it's close because I think Tobias has the higher floor.
Yeah, he does.
Higher ceiling. So you're kind of weighing.
Cantor has a 100 ceiling, really, if we're being honest.
Yeah, but I would rather go Cantor because he can play 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Tobias has been extremely solid off the bench. He's massive increases in minutes, usage, point. I think he scores 21 points per game off the bench. So the sample size is there. Lure, I highly doubt anyways will play heavy minutes first game back. So yeah, Tobias off the bench I think is really nice, and at 6K is a strong cash option. I'd probably lean him in cash just because I kind of play more safe in cash generally. Probably
he'll be lower owned in cash too, so that sort of
he will. Yeah. But you're really looking at who your two power forwards are to go, and it's pretty tough on FanDuel. I mean, you have a lot of guys in that price range. Terrence Jones obviously would have been really chalky play if Brow were out, but that's not the case anymore. Nothing's breaking our way.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think people will look at Thad Young too at 54 on DK. He's kind of like the darling of the Sharks. I look at
seriously. Yeah, man.
You play him way more than I would ever play him. But that price point is not bad. And you look at the Sacramento team, 23rd in rebound rate this season. So decent spot for him.
Would you rather Thad or Markieff?
I'd go Thad. Yeah, I'd go Thad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thad probably will be pretty chalkier than I think he always is. You're right. So
yeah, I think people will go
54. 54 is cheap though.
I gotta mention this too. I think we're all starting it, but Anthony Tolliver at 4K on FanDuel. I know none of us want to play Anthony Tolliver, but you look at what he's done the last. So 5, 6, 7, like 10
Yes.
games or 8 games or so when he's played 28 plus minutes, which he should again, given he's been locked in the starting lineup for a couple of games now. He's played 32 minutes and 4 straight. Been around I think like 23 FanDuel points during that stretch, and he's 4K against 8. So if you're looking at a punt, I'd rather him than Ron Baker or something.
Yeah, for sure. Even though Ron Baker is just.
I'm sorry, I don't meant to go out of my way.
No, Tolliver 30 minutes plus in 4 straight games is definitely nice, and that's their rotation. I mean, they've played better with him in the starting lineup. He fits,
and he's bad.
So so DK is interesting if you probably want to save at this spot, especially if you're spending up shooting guard and point guard.
Yes, DK 41.
But no, you have guys. I mean, you have Olynyk 45 and Kyle O'Quinn, who could be a gem if Noah's out at 41. If Noah's out, he didn't go through shoot around. Is O'Quinn like a easy clear cut play at 41? Yes. I would imagine. Yeah.
I mean, you look at that on-off query I mentioned earlier with Porzingis off the court. Kyle O'Quinn's usage rate goes up by 4.6%. I mean, he's been taking a lot of shots like the last couple games, like 3 games.
Yeah.
I think O'Quinn's very easy because they'd be down to him and Hernan Gomez.
Thin, yeah. And O'Quinn's points per minute are really high for one, a guy in that price range, and 2, just kind of a big man. So.
Let me say, hypothetically, I know this isn't an optimal play usually, but say Porzingis and Joakim Noah are rolled out, would you play both O'Quinn and Hernan Gomez?
I think you'd have to look at it, but I'm already playing Kuz too, so you really want to go 3?
I mean, we've talked ourselves into other options, on Kuz, especially on FanDuel. There's so many small forward options, kind of like 1,000.
But
300 more.
Like I wouldn't go for Gomez, I don't think.
You don't think so? I think I'd be very open to it.
I think his floor is like scary low. Even
his floor is scary. No, his floor is scary low because he doesn't play minutes sometimes.
Yeah, his spot in the rotation is scary.
Right, because like last game, he went from starting the second half of the game before in place of who was it that was out? Was it Porzingis?
Lance Thomas?
Oh, Lance Thomas. Yeah, that's right. He started the second half for Lance Thomas and didn't play at all the next game.
Yeah.
So I agree he's volatile with his minutes, but when you take away Porzingis and Noah from the equation,
and Lance again. Yeah.
Right. They literally have 2 guys who can play center.
Mm-hmm. Right. And this is going to be a game. Both teams are going to go small, clearly. But
so stack the Knicks is what we're saying.
That's what I was getting at the whole pod. Yeah, man. I mean, if you
go small, you think Melo will actually play center? Like they tried out like a traditional center out there, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It'd be Melo a lot at the 4.
I don't think Melo would play center. He would just walk.
No.
Yeah. He would just grab a
Yeah.
But I mean, the Knicks guys, all 3 of those cheap guys, O'Quinn, Gomez, and Kuz are the value plays of this.
Like Hernan Gomez 3K on
that's a joke
on FanDuel. I mean, if Porzingis and Noah are out, I think I'm going back to that.
I honestly would consider going all 3.
I would too.
Hernan goes.
And they're thin. Yeah, they're dirt cheap. And then look at who they get you. You can load up at all your other spots.
Right, you can get 3 studs.
Yeah, and that's I think that's worth it on this type of slate.
We have a bunch of studs in really nice spots.
I'm skeptical on the Hernan Gomez call, but
that's fine.
I hear you.
You're just playing recency bias.
Yeah.
No, you liked him last game. I liked him too. And then he put up a big fat 0.
But no, that was when I thought he was going to start because he was starting.
No, because I thought he would start for.
But I'm saying if he doesn't start, like I don't know that he's even with the diminished rotation that he's going to get good minutes. You know.
Do you think so? Okay, in that case, O'Quinn has to play like 30.
Yeah,
foul trouble.
I think that's like not a completely unreasonable expectation.
I don't think he's
no.
Yeah. Okay. We'll agree. We'll agree to disagree.
If Noah's out, I'm fine with all three.
Yeah, me too.
If Noah's out, and then that's not even going Melo, who's pretty, and Rose. Though, yeah, I'm good with all these.
Yeah, this is what I said earlier. Stack.
That's what I'm saying, though. Are we really going to talk ourselves into loading up in the Knicks when they're
not going Melo?
They're probably going to be double-digit dogs on the road against Boston.
I am fine.
70 points.
Yeah, but it's the pricing more than anything.
They might score 70 points, but we'll get 55 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
One last guy on power forward before we finish it up with center, who would be incredibly low owned, but does have a nice ceiling just because he's 6'1", and he's always in that same price range as Canner and Tobias. Zebo, really nice matchup against Washington. Just a little bit, but
I do want to talk about the Raptors front court and kind of what to do there if Patterson and Nogueira are out. That leaves kind of a hole there.
That'll transition.
I'll go smaller, but I think we could see Pascal re-enter the starting lineup.
I think this is a possibility that DeMar slides down too and plays.
I think that would make me higher on.
And they start Norm Powell or something at the 2. You know, obviously I still like the Terrence Ross call from before. Norm Powell has been very underwhelming. He'd be a lot better than he would be last game. I think, you know, if Powell starts, you got to consider him as an option.
Right. Yeah, but that's something to monitor, though. The Toronto front court could be pretty thin.
You're off Siakam, right? If you start.
I think so. Especially with these Knicks guys, like O'Quinn destroys Siakam. So.
And Siakam averages like
0.001.
Yeah. Fantasy points per minute.
I actually do think Damari might start anyways, even if Bebe is ready to play, because you look at this Knicks team, I fully expect Miller to start at the 4, and it totally makes sense for Raptors to counter with Damari Carroll at the 4 too. So I further kind of like the Terrence Ross call because I expect minutes.
A little small. Yeah.
And Damari is a good call too.
Yeah, I obviously love Damari. I've liked him for the last week since 3 minutes.
For sure. All right, so let's roll through center here. Boogie obviously is a guy that you have to really strongly look at against an Indy team that is not very good defensively, especially down low with Miles Turner, who has defensive potential, but hasn't sort of realized that on the court. And then you have, like Embiid is questionable. He's been downgraded to questionable, but if he does play, going against a Toronto team that could be without Bebe is really nice here. So, I mean, it's interesting. Then you go down to guys who have been pretty chalky cash game punt plays over the last week in Olynyk and Zeller. So, Justin, I'll kick to you. Boogie, obviously, I think we want really bad. But if you're not going Boogie, where are you looking?
I'm probably going down to like Olynyk or Zeller or
O'Quinn.
Or O'Quinn, I was actually looking to check where he's eligible. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, FanDuel. So FanDuel, it's going to be tough.
Only O'Quinn. He's only center on FanDuel, right?
On FanDuel, he's only center.
He's power forward center on DK. But those are. I'm probably going down. I don't think I'm going to mess too much with Embiid today. I mean, obviously he smashes and we love Embiid every single time, but he's 8,400. I'd rather go down and spend up for his studs and kind of fully save at these positions and go him. I think, I love Boogie Cousins a lot. I think behind Giannis and Harden, he's right up there with my favorite studs today. I probably like him more than like Steph and KD too, just because the game projects to be closer. The big difference with Boogie Cousins, man, the dimes. He's been diming really, really well lately. 5+ dimes in 10 of his last 11 games. It's averaged like 6 times in those 11 games. Really picked it up in that area. It adds a really nice dimension to his game, and obviously you have the scoring and the rebounding as well. So I love Boogie Cousins today. This matchup at home against Indy is pretty pristine. Should be really nice.
Jay, what are your thoughts on I asked you this before the last slate we talked on Sky, Zeller versus Olynyk. Zeller obviously has
Oh yeah,
different minutes, but Olenek has been playing really well, and it seems Stevens really trusts him out there. And they've been sort of featuring him on offense, actually, which is sort of intriguing. But those guys in particular, I think, are really interesting. And then in the mid-tier range, I mean, we have guys like Valanciunas, who obviously, if Toronto is really thin, you at least have to think about what you want to do with him. And then Horford, obviously, on the other side of this Knicks matchup is at least somewhat intriguing.
Yeah, you just named all the best tournament plays for sure. I think with Val, if Embiid's out, load him up pretty heavy in tournaments going against Ja.
My Ja's a bad defender. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll talk about Olenek for a little bit. I think it's a tad points chasey because he's shooting 15 for 20 in his last 2 games, shooting 6 for 7 from 3. So his last 2 explosions have been on hot shooting. But I've talked about this before. The Knicks are horrendous defending the 3, and the way they kind of defend pick and roll is they sag into the paint. They kind of overload, and the rotations are absolutely atrocious, and there's miscommunication all over the place. So Olenek should get some really good looks on the perimeter.
If he's playing against, like, Joakim Noah is really bad. I mean, like, O'Quinn can't go out and defend him either.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one on the Knicks. Kuz can't get out there. I mean, like, he would just.
So normally I'd probably lean Zeller out of the 2 just because he's safer. I like the floor there better, but I'm totally fine with Olenek in this matchup. I think he's gonna just reign.
Yeah, and he's much cheaper on FanDuel. So I mean, you're getting almost 1,000 savings.
Yeah.
So if let's say Noah plays and Olenek, the value guy, do you just go Olenek, or is that when you try to go up to Boogie and cash if O'Quinn's out? Because I think if O'Quinn starts and Noah's out, I'm going O'Quinn and cash and not going Boogie. But if O'Quinn's not really an option and you have Olenek, I'm kind of more on the fence of whether to save there or go up to Boogie. I think with what we just talked about their position, it sounds like we won't be able to fit Boogie.
I'm fine with Olenek, honestly.
Okay, yeah. Although I don't know, maybe you can if you go 2 cheaper small forwards and you don't really have an elite option at power forward, I think you can still go Boogie on FanDuel relatively easily.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to try to jam Boogie in.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think going through all these positions, we've named quite a few value guys, actually.
There are enough. The Knicks guys alone will kind of get you whoever you want, but they just play the same position as Boogie, so it's going to be tough.
And on DK, if Noah's out, you could get up to Boogie and go O'Quinn.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I'm definitely looking at doing. If you can fit one of Giannis and Harden to pair with Boogie on DK, that's something I'm definitely exploring.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be really
and then just load up, go 5 Knicks guys: Burgundy, Kuz, O'Quinn, Ernie Gomez. I mean, you have the whole. It's crazy. They're too cheap, and the roster's broken down. Those are the clear value plays on the slate. Are these Knicks guys, especially if Noah's out? I'll make that clear.
Yeah, it looks like he's probably going to be out though.
I think it's trending that way, so I'm kind of going into it as of now of rostering these guys.
All right, let's finish up with, we want to talk about some tournament plays. I mean, guys that, I think you at least have to look at. Marc Gasol has a pretty good matchup here against Washington. Bertan's been oddly not very good lately.
Dude, he's been so disappointing. Like, we tout him literally every time.
Yeah, and what does he give us?
I know. Disappointing. Come on, man.
But it's always on pod days, which is so weird.
That's true. I'm not going to mention him today. Maybe he'll just go off against Gasol.
Portland, 17 DK points. Yeah. Milwaukee, 22.5 DK points.
Embarrassing.
The Nets. He did well against the Nets. But.
What do you think of Mason Plumlee? I think that's how we always feel about Mason.
There are a lot. Well, I'm usually higher on him, but not on this slate. I think we, for one, have better options in that price range, and 2, it's not a matchup. We talked a little bit about your boy Zeller, but he's not a waste on defense. So I don't know. I'm not too high on him. I'm more interested in guys like Valanciunas, and especially if Embiid's out, if that front court's thin, and you look at his last game, very disappointing. So I think a bounce back game for him potentially is nice. And then another kind of bounce back game too is Vucevic. Coming off a pretty lousy game against Denver after Jokic just embarrassed him, like he's embarrassing everybody now. But yeah, Vooch is another guy I'm intrigued in tournaments.
What are your thoughts on this Detroit Atlanta matchup between Dwight and Drummond? I mean, Drummond is.
Yeah, we kind of saw them play each other. I think it was really late December. Drummond put up 38 DK points, and Dwight put up, I think, like 33 or 34 DK points. And that's kind of exactly what I have them projected for right now. And neither they pop in relative to their price. And I think these big versus big matchups where I don't really play centers, period, against Dwight. Just not an optimal spot, and he's rested too.
They both had 15 rebounds, but they weren't very efficient scoring the ball.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of thin a little bit to kind of attack those guys. I do like your Zach Randolph call though. I think that's very, very sneaky.
Yeah, I like Zebo quite a bit. All right, any other guys who you want to hit on? I think we've sort of hit most of these guys at this point.
Horford?
We talked about Horford, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he'd be pretty nice.
Miles Turner?
Against Boogie?
No, not really.
I'll look elsewhere.
Yeah. Foul trouble. Looming. What do we – with these Boston guys in general, are we kind of being lighter? We haven't mentioned a lot of them really because – I'm probably going to be pretty light on these Boston guys just because I expect I'm kind of concerned about a potential blowout.
Yeah, it's definitely there. But I don't know. I don't think Ron Baker will let them get blown out.
Burgundy, man. That's he's his name right.
You say that and they got blown out the last game he started.
Did they get blown out?
Didn't they?
I didn't think so. Maybe they did. No, I thought it was like a game. I thought it was a close game.
Was it?
The great podcast. No, they lost by Atlanta.
They lost by one.
Okay. Because they didn't give Baker
last minute thing.
Yeah, and Baker wasn't in the game, so.
No, and that was why they lost.
That's what I'm saying. What do you expect to happen when the game's on the line? You don't have Baker.
Baker was -2, Jay Sean. That's
that's true. He was. That's all right. Melo was -2 too. It's Melo's fault.
Yeah, always Melo's fault.
Yeah.
If I'm just right now, I'm trying to lock in, some of these guys. Like if you lock in
the Knicks guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've done it a bit. You can make some pretty nice lineups.
Like if I lock in Kuz, Melo, and O'Quinn. And yeah, you can easily get Boogie, Lowry, like whoever you want, and you could get up to one of the shooting guards too. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's value, man. There's value out there. I mean, like Olynyk, you mentioned Tolliver. I mean, guys you can get to if you want.
Oh, I'm gonna add Baker into this. See what we get. Oh, this is gonna be amazing. We'll add Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, I think there's what turned out to be a horrible morning with all these guys who wanted to be rolled out. Anthony Davis, all these guys is turning out to be really good, but it's the Knicks. It's really hard to go all in.
Is it really good? Is it really good, Sean? If we're committing ourselves to the Knicks, is it really good?
It's really tough, but it's better than it was before with nothing breaking our way.
So Klay Thompson just got ruled out, by the way.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, personal. Yeah.
Okay.
So
breaking news on the pod.
We have Steph and KD kind of elevate to an even.
Yeah, for sure.
That becomes even trickier because I mentioned that I liked, Giannis, Harden, and Boogie over those two. I think those two.
We liked Steph quite a bit already.
Yeah, but I think I'd rather have Boogie than Steph straight up and go Lowry.
I don't know anymore.
Yeah,
I think I go Steph now for sure over Lowry.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
Durant. I mean, we still like Durant a lot, but it's just gonna be a matter of prioritizing him above these other guys. And we talked about a ton of value at small forward that are capable of getting by. Nothing that we love too much, but
Clay was out one game earlier this year, and Steph crushed. So I think that
I like Steph a lot. Yeah.
But I think that puts him potentially over Lowry.
I agree.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts you want to enter there? I think we got all of our Knicks love out, and it is what it is. It's just the slate of the Knicks.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool.
Slate of the Knicks.
Slate of the Knicks. All right, we will end it there. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back soon. Good luck tonight. Roster all of the Knicks.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, good luck, guys.